Cool. Computer says we've gone live. That's always a good starting point. Let's find the correct bit on here. Oh, there we are. Have we gone? There we are. That tells me we're live there. Oh, I haven't turned my noises off. Let me do that. Let's pop that into there. There we are. Excellent. Hey. Cool. Oh, it's just gone round to 7 o'clock. You couldn't get that bell perfect if you tried. Well, that's very lovely. Good evening, Jan. Can you just confirm that you can hear me okay? I can certainly see everything all right. So that's a goodly starting point. Always helps in the grand scheme of things, doesn't it? We'll just let a few more people come on. That's going to line up reasonably well. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Karen. Good evening, Marlene. Hello, Alison. Thank you, Jan. Much appreciated. We've got my usual 25 times the junk in front of us because that's always what you need, isn't it? And then I wasn't absolutely certain I was going to go live tonight because I was feeling a bit bleh, and then I thought, wow, why don't you? You always feel better for a bit of crafting. It's so good for your mental health, isn't it? Good evening, Maxine. Hello, Dury. Hopefully, but oh, what have I sat on? Oh, there we are. Yeah, we had an early tea too, Jill. Out of the reduced price counters at the local supermarket. So there we are. So, as we're aware, or maybe not, because I think there are some people watching that haven't watched me before here, I make an awful lot of stuff, and that means I have a ridiculous number of projects on the side. So for this year, I've decided that I will do a series of lives building up what I'm making. And so I am creating pieces that ultimately will all come together, so I have less overall finished products, but still done plenty of lives, but they haven't taken silly amounts of time. The guide time for crafting together with all brands is about an hour, and so I'm aiming to be there or thereabouts for these lives here. So I thought I would have a little recap. Thank you. So this is going to be the front cover. It's an A6 canvas that has been decorated, and this will be the back cover. So there's two A6 canvases, and that will sort itself out. Okay, so that was live number 1. Let me just break these up. So live number 2, I focused on different techniques with ink pads and stenciling and stamping here, dragging and stamping on that one, and smooshing and stamping on that one. So 3 entirely different looks with essentially the same products, but just used in a very different way. I know that Kay Hoogie likes this one the best. I don't have a preference. If I was to have a preference, it's probably going to be Grow Wild and Free. Okay, so we have 3 of those that are ink based. And then last week I did these 3, which are still a bit wonky donkey, and that's fine. They're all using the Secret Diary collection, and but the common theme for this group is that I've used rice paper as the base and then added stamping, stenciling on the top and the paper element. So I'm thinking that we'll build some ideas as we go through. They'll all mix and match, but tonally they're all going to work. So what have I come up with as a concept for this time? So we've used inks as a background, we've used rice paper as a background. And so I thought this time we might use papers as a background. Now these base cards are 10.5 centimetres this way and 14.7 centimetres that way, just to be difficult, okay? but we're going to concentrate on my papers. I am using up what I have, because that using up what I have seems like a very smart idea to me. Oh, where's that gone? Well, it's typical, isn't it? Oh, there it is. There we are. And I'm conscious I've just knocked that camera a little bit. So let's see if that will catch up and keep us all in the same place. It's never quite guaranteed. I might need to move that down there. Okay, so that's what we've got. So we're just going to have a little bit of a play, do things a little bit differently. And then say the focus of this is using papers, ordinary papers as our backgrounds. And I'm going to do several different pieces to work together. And I'm using archival ink, faded jeans, because that's because if I want to add wet mediums at any stage, then the archival ink will not shift. So that's the whole thought process here. And we're just going to build up. We're going to take our background pieces and just build from there. So this is a piece of paper from the page in the book that has all of the words on it. So it's a 12 by 12 piece, and I've just chopped it to 10 centimeters, oops, in that direction, by 14.2 centimeters in that direction. Let me just remove the sticky piece, because that's where the problem when pieces are glued together for binding is you sometimes end up with the bit of glue where you don't want it, from their binding mechanism, where you don't necessarily want it. Okay, so we're just going to have a little play, and there was nothing wrong, because I'm still on, I am on mission user, in just leaving that background entirely as it is. It's already got lots of layers already built into it. So let me step up and let's just move some of this gubbins out of the way, so we've got a bit more details and things into here. But it wouldn't be me, would it, really, if I did it, if we left it like that. So I've picked up a stencil from, this is from, put my brain in gear, from the Dewdrops collection. And I like it because you've got the dotty bit at the top and you've got some lines. Now I sort of know where I'm going with this, and we've got sort of triangles at the bottom, but it's just going, so for one stencil you've got 3 different bits, and I think that makes it uber super usable. And it might be very subtle, but that works for me. If I wanted it more detailed, I could have picked a darker blue to do that with. So let's just pop those on the seat behind me, and let's just pick up some other bits and pieces that we've got. And I've got a whole collection of different stamp sets here out of their packets. That's designed to be confusing and difficult, but that's okay. So let's just pick up, I think this one actually is from the Secret Diary collection, so that seems like a very prudent piece to have. So let's just take this, let's just pop it onto a clear acrylic stamp plate, and we will just carry on with a little just ever so little embellishing. And we're going to have some blue based and we're going to have some brown based pages today. There we go. Well, let's just cover the whole thing, and then we won't use the whole thing, and that's fine, because I know exactly where I'm wanting to pop my embellishment piece. So let's just pop that. Oh, she says, dropping it and making a mess. So let's pop that over there. Let's pop that over there. Let's just add a little bit more ink onto the bottom of this, and just by shuffling it around a bit, we'll get slightly different looks across the different piece. So one stamp, oops, wrong ink pad, there we are, we'll get the right ink pad, but used to different extents, and we'll get a slightly different look. So we're going to keep this relatively simple, yeah? So I think I've got a piece there that I really quite like as a background. I've just added those extra elements into there just for that little point of difference. Good evening, Stephanie, thank you. So Facebook's not putting up comments again, why is it not? Good evening, Diane. Hello, Lisa. So I'm having to use my phone and scroll, so I definitely won't acknowledge as many people as I would normally acknowledge. Yeah, it's only happening in Crafting Together with All Brands group, so I don't know why, but there we are, that's what it is. So this is just some glue. It's a PVA glue. This one has a quick grab. Use the one that you've got. Doesn't need anything particularly fancy. Could be anything you want. There we are. We'll pop that onto there. And then I went hunting on the use up the stash basis, and this is a simple piece. And let me just find the other half of that. On one of the 12 by 12 pages is this piece, just like that. And I like Liberty. I write your name by my bedside, on my school books, on the sand, on the snow. I write your name. This Liberty is really important, isn't it? So we've got this piece, and I've chopped it in half because as a whole it's just too big. And on the plus side, by chopping it in half, actually, from that one element, which is just a small part of the page it came out of, I'll grab the page actually so you can see how little I've used of that page. There we are. So it came out of this page. I can actually get the focal point for 2 different inserts for my book. I've got masses here I can pick up and choose. I can fussy cut or use as backgrounds, and of course I've got this beautiful background that is so neutral it will work with lots of things for another project. Okay. So this is about not being afraid to take your very pretty multi-layered pieces of paper and just chop into them. Have that courage to do that. And it doesn't matter to me that this is going off the page here. Remember, this is an insert into a book, so it's not going to be a big problem overall. And I might just leave this partially free so that I've got a pocket. Might not put anything in the pocket today. There we are, that can go onto there. Yeah, so you can see why, from this piece, why I kept this where it was. Now we might have some issues with Mr. Facebook, I think. Let me see what's going on, whether that's going to behave. Never quite guaranteed with the Book of Face what's going to happen. Just let me see if I can get that sorted out by coming back out and coming back in. No, I can't now see what's going on. I'm hating the Book of Face at the moment, so just bear with, because it will sort itself out eventually. Oh, there we are. And then I've taken some of the little flowers from the whole piece. There we are. Hopefully that will now come back. No, it's not going to come back with the correct piece. Right, I know what I need to do, which will be come out completely. There we are, and I'll pick it up somewhere else, you see. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. The Book of Face. I sometimes do wonder about you. So I've got and thank you, Di, for sharing. It's much appreciated. There we are. We're just going to pop some of these pieces onto here. I'm covering that pot intentionally because I don't particularly like the pot. So there we are. We're just going to add a couple more flowers there. Let's just give that a little bit of a good evening. Now, I've been freezing all day, which is why I've still got my hoodie on. I put the heater on in my conservatory because I was so cold when I first came in it. And now, God bless the hormones, although you'd have thought I'm long past that stage in my life, I'm now red hot. So I've turned the heater off because that seems like a good move. There we are, and we'll just pop that into there. Comme ça. I make a mess by squidging glue. So let's just pick up a little wipe from somewhere, i.e. behind me. We'll say that in good old panto fashion. No, I don't need every single one of those out. Why would you need the half the packet? Because, I mean, clearly half a packet's good to use. Not. There we are. Stick all those back into there. Get out of the way. Hi, Isabel. Welcome, my darling. There we are. Put that back over there. I now have so much stuff every which way that I can't see wood for trees. So let's just pop that into there. And this is why I use archival ink, because then if I pick up a wet wipe to wipe excess stuff off, it's not going to be altered. And let's just think about what I want to do. Now, I've added pen markings on all of my other pieces, so I'm just going to do some untidy scribbles, so that this is essentially this, you know, all of these pages will then link together with what I'm doing. It doesn't have to be tidy scribbles, doesn't have to be tidy at all, but it is just going to mean that all of the pages throughout have some degree of commonality in them. Yeah, can I draw a straight line? No. Does it matter? Just add multiple lines close to each other and no one will ever know that that's not what you intended to do. So that's always cool, isn't it? There we are. And we might just leave that. Let's just grab, and this is when we end up being slightly wasteful. So if I use my brain, pop those into there, so I'm not wasting this repeatedly. Let's just grab a little brush. This, oh, she says a little brush, because where is her water pipe or pot? Well, her water pot is not in here, because daughter-in-law borrowed it yesterday to spritz hair with. There we are. So all within hand's reach. It's just as well, isn't it? So that is just some white acrylic paint that I'm going to thin down with a spritz of water. These vacuum pump spritzers are lovely and have the added advantage of being a good size. Hello Anne, welcome my darling, thank you for joining. So we'll just give that a little bit of a spritz of that and pop that in there. And would I like a bit of sparkle? Well, I haven't had sparkle anywhere else, but let's see if we can manage to get some of this stickles, which I haven't used for eons, to come. Oh, I can. So let's just add a little bit of stickles, multicoloured rainbowy stickles into there. It's got, look, so this one is crystal. Okay, that seemed quite appropriate. So there's lots of different apparently white or clear stickles, so just be aware that they are all different and make sure you pick up the one that you want. That's my favourite because it gives a beautiful little iridescent, almost chameleon effect shimmer. And it couldn't be more simple than that. And as I say, I can pop something else in there if I want to. So that's background number 1 for tonight. Okay. So the eagle-eyed, and those with that might have been thinking about things. What's that one doing? Another one. Will have said that I cut this one in half. So that, because it didn't fit, that embellishment cut from the 12 by 12 didn't fit on the whole piece. And this is about maximising what you're doing. You know, you could do something similar using the 8 by 8 pad and on an ATC card. cut it up. So don't be afraid to cut up your imagery. It may be that it's more logical to cut up some parts rather than others, but just work with what you've got and decide where the obvious or logical split line is in that embellishment. For me, for this one, it was the half window. There we are. We now have the glue removed nicely off there. There we are. So let's just take a different set of stamps, okay? So this lot is going to sit on that side. So I've got quite a reasonable area over here that's going to be embellishment free. So having decided that, I can then work out what I want to do in terms of adding extra detail onto this piece. And in the inspiration set, which is definitely from the Secret Diary collection by Vicky Poppino, because the packet actually says it, there is a little butterfly that says unique. So that seems like a very logical and sensible thing to do. So let's just ink that up with that archival ink, pop that onto there, and let's just pop a little butterfly partly on and partly off. Yeah, partly on and partly off. Now when you're doing this, you just have to remember that the piece that you had off the page won't have got rid of its ink. You can, yeah, so you just need to be aware when you're doing that you might end up with an uneven marking. So I've now got two little butterflies on there, but that's probably not going to be, twos don't really work, do they? But I'm not too sure that I want another really dark butterfly. I'm going to be covering up the centre of this anyway, so I'm just going to pop that into there. It'll get rid of a lot of that ink, and then I can add in another partial print of a butterfly and another partial print of, butterfly there, and more there if I want to. So I've mixed it all through. You don't just have to have a whole image, and I haven't done any stenciling here, and I'm very aware of that, because actually this is just, I'm just going to add in the stamping for this one. And I'm going to break my normal rules because that's what you can do, isn't it? And I've got a Distress Oxide ink here. So there we are. That's just on that stamp set. And I might just take this off the block, because that way I don't have to stamp all of it. That's really not going to show very much, but that's fine. It's just there in the background. There we are. Let's pop that back where it belongs. So don't be afraid to mix it up, and and change things around. Let's just get this piece back up there, balanced safely to dry. Okay, so I quite like that as a background. I will be using my pen around it, but I don't know that I want to add lots more onto there, because we've got our embellishments to come. And I think that hopefully this shows that, yes, I clearly pre-planned where I'm going with all of these pieces. So that the pre-planning probably took me 45 minutes, but it could, certainly didn't take me much longer than that, because I'm very used to the collection, so sort of knew what was there, and definitely knew what I had left to use. Yeah. And then I've got all of these pieces. I really didn't want to sit down, not stand up. I'm going to be up and down, but that's okay. Right, so let's just take all of these pieces. So this is the other half of that die cut, and I'm going to edge it. And I'm leaving that little piece on there because it doesn't offend me just to have that little piece there. And we're just going to add these on. And I'm not going to create a pocket this time. This one is going to go flat on here, right up against that edge. yeah. Well, to be fair, Carol, I had my hair cut and coloured by my lovely stepdaughter. So I can't complain, but she obviously, mine was coloured and washed, so it was already wet, but she was cutting her dad's hair, and so she just needed to spritz it to do that. And there we are. Let's just make sure we have got that straight along the edge of the card. There we are. Let's squash that down. There we are. So hopefully, and wet glue gives you a bit of wriggle room, but as I say, because I'm using archival ink, if I get a bit of seepage, then actually it's really not too big a problem, an issue or a problem. Okay. One of the things I hope to do, apart from showing you different techniques and different ideas and different ways of building, because it's all the same collection, is it also will encourage you to get your products out of storage, and actually start using them. I'm guilty of having lots of stuff, but I'm I'm definitely guilty of perhaps ignoring my stencils and my stamps, but actually they can be used really well to add interest and to enhance. Let me just pop that down, that might work, and to enhance our background pieces. There we are. You see, I've got everything around me. So for those of you who don't know, I dual stream. I have two cameras. That's better, isn't it? You can actually see, because I think one of the problems with overhead screening is it gives you a lovely view of the project, and it gives you the way I have my camera set up is it means that you've got the view, you're viewing what I'm viewing in the orientation that I'm view things in. It irritates me because it does that we should have I've got Adventure Awakes. There we are. We'll just pop that when people have got their cameras so that things are back to front, or worse still, are at a funny wonky angle, because it makes no sense to me whatsoever to have that happening. There we are. Let's just pop that up there. So all I've done is picked little florals. These are, I think, were cut from the 8x8, but use what you have. If you haven't got florals in your collection and you want a little flower, find a little stamp that is a floral, yeah, and use that. There's always a solution, always a solution. Adventure Awaits, that definitely comes from the 8x8 because it's a much smaller. And if you're making small pieces and only ever going to make small pieces, then the 8x8 collection is probably the more sensible one to get for you. It might not be the one that works for you the best, but there we are. See, I've stuck that down when I hadn't intended to, but there we are. We can just give that. I don't particularly want these to be dimensional because I like my books to close. If you're not mithered by having a something that's bulging at the seams, and then literally do what you it's your book. Do what you wish to do. Let me just. I think I might have happier with that. Just angled over there. Your project, your make, your way, yeah, because that's what's important. Let's get that butterfly just perching on the edge of the frame, because it's clearly a butterfly that's at rest, so to me it needs to go onto something to be at rest. So really simple, not difficult, yeah. And let's just have a different way of linking. So we're going to have just some long dashes here, just around the edges, just giving a natural edge to the piece. I'm not going to pop it down that side. I did on the other one, because we're just going to just mark the edge of that piece of cards that I've chopped down. I know I've got a white border. The black pen will just again help define that edge and the change. Really simple, not expensive, we've all got them. So let's just pop that around there, outline that because I think it works. Don't pop that there. There we are. And we might just do that. And then we're going to pick up our water splattered. And I've actually thought this through tonight, haven't I? Because I've got that. So, and for me, the splatter is the thing that actually then links everything together. Okay, do I want more sparkle? I'm actually going to separate these pages in the book, so it won't matter if I have little bits of sparkle, because these won't all sit together. So let's just add a little bit of sparkle into the centres of those flowers. And why not? Let's just add a little bit up there. It'll barely be noticeable. There we are. So you can be using your Nuvo rocks. I'm using stickles. You could use contour pens. Lots and lots of different options for using that. So that is our insert number 2 for tonight. Okay. So papers used as background, enhanced with stamping, some with a little bit of stenciling, some pen work, little bits of paper embellishments, nothing uber complicated, but we get different looks and different sets of words. So let's pop that up there out of the way. So what have we got here? We've got 2 different looks to go here, so let's pop these away. So in the paper pad is a piece of paper that has journal cards in it, and I've chopped it into mine good and proper. So let me see. Yeah, absolutely. Let me just grab. Okay, so this, yeah, so there are 6 of these pieces on the paper, but I didn't want the background. I really liked the focal imagery in this piece, so I cut the whole lot out. So I've now got a lot of white space here that I want to do something with, and I've got florals, so I'm just going to grab a stencil, which I've got out, that is more florally, that I cannot now see because that's the way of the world. I don't want that one, don't want that one, don't want that one. Wow. Well, choose a different one then, seeing as that's not the one that, you know, it'll have gone to somewhere safe in this world, because it always does. So let's just take that one, which has some leafery. Leafery? Is leafery a word? Possibly not. Okay, but let's just swap from I was using those, the blue inks. Let me just grab a brown ink. And there's no question that for stencils I definitely like the dye-based inks. Just remember that this is the coffee brown from Stamperia. Yeah, it's their coffee ink pad. A lot of this is going to get covered, so I can just concentrate around the edges. Yeah, don't need lots of it, the rest of it. There we are. We'll just pop that into there. I've just added a little brown leafery onto there, for want of a better turn of phrase. The leafery works, doesn't it? Okay, and these will have a different feel. But remember, in my race paper backgrounds, I had definitely had some of those that had more of the brown elements on them. Okay, I often use Vintage Photo Bid, which is an orange based brown. Okay, rather than that. So let us just pick up another ink thing. These come from one of the very early Vicky Papineau collections. Okay, so this is a stamp text that I use lots and lots and lots. And this is the archival brown ink pad from Stamperia. Use whichever archival ink pad you've got, and you'll often see me when I'm stamping text. I'm just gonna pop that in the middle. oh yes, it is upright, using an archival ink pad, because it just picks up a bit more detail. Yeah, and you'll usually see me put text stamp in without actually using a block, so I don't get a whole print, and that's completely intentional. Now on the top of the journaling cards for that are pieces that are intended to look like a bookbinding, really, and all I've done is torn that together, and I've taken the piece and I've torn it towards me, so I've got a rough edge, and I've sort of cut around that. It's not very accurately cut around it, but it doesn't matter. So I really wasn't wanting to throw very much of that piece away, so that's going to go there. I've got a little scrap. This was cut off from the other 2 pages when I was trimming that to size. So there we are. Waste not, want not, and again it's got a torn edge, and then we have our piece that I've cut out the paper, and I'm just going to give that a little bit of it. I know what I was going to do. Okay, so we've got some landlocked areas here, and I'm not overly minded about leaving these landlocked areas in all of these places, but if it's going to bug you, if you cut along here, this edge with the floral, and cut around it, you'll be able to take that piece out relatively easily. You won't, some pieces that doesn't work with, but that's because that green leaf goes up to the next focal area, and so I can then come around that quite easily and just nip that extra piece out. And what that will do is just make that piece just a little bit more delicate than it would be otherwise. Okay, and by the time it's stuck back down, no one's going to be any the wiser that I've taken my scissors, aka here. As long as I don't chop the stem off, no one will be any the wiser that I've had a pair of scissors in there chopping off that extra bit. So it's a good trick. Just look at, see where the junctions for landlocked areas might be, and then don't be afraid to have a little cheeky snip in, as I say, because by the time, don't pull when you don't want to, by the time you've got it actually glued down, see, I can see there's a big floppy area here, but actually by the time I've got it stuck down, no one is going to be any the wiser that I've just taken that piece out of there. So let's just give this a nice little edge with that brown ink. So yeah, come in and then open that up, because it's cut. Can lift that forward and colour into those areas, because the little nooks and crannies are not always that easy to get into. And we've got a positive word there already, haven't we? Okay, so we're just going to take some glue, pop that onto there. That is going to sit in there. That is going to sit there. So let me just pop that there. So I've got a bit of that showing, not all of it, and that's fine. So I'm just using these little snippets torn from the papers as embellishments. You don't necessarily need an entire fussy cut pad, when you can look in your paper pad and think, actually I've got all of these little bits that I can then add into place. So again, use what you have, make the most of every little scrap of paper. It just makes a difference to all of these little layers. And essentially I'm doing the same sort of layering I would do on any of my projects. Ooh, I can't even see the comments now because I've got that in front of you. There we are. There we are. but I'm taking out the dimension, but I still want my pieces to look interesting, which is why I have got my layers built in. Now I can see that I'm actually got an area poking through here that I'm not going to like, so just bear with while I just pop a little bit of stamping into the back of that. Don't be afraid to change your mind. I can pop that down. I just need to get those down. Need to be slightly careful here because I've used water reactive inks in that background. Okay, I'm going to pop that down and make sure those junction points that I just chopped at, so no one will know. If you didn't know that I made a chop through there when I did that, I hadn't told you, you'd be none the wiser. Let's make sure we get those on the correct lids because that would be helpful. And let's just have a little bit of dots and dash. Lots of variations for edging. Double lines, dots and dashes, dashes on its own, broken lines, broken dashes, you know, lots and lots of different ways. We're just providing an obvious end to this piece. Yeah, but we've got lots of detail in our pieces. And it right back at the beginning, the stenciled pieces that I'd used with the lots of inks, I hadn't done any of those with the browns. So when I'm deciding this, I'm linking back to some of the techniques that I've used previously, but changing up the colours. All useful design tricks to make things come together. So there we are, and then we'll just add a little bit of splatter. I like my splatters. They just mean that they link the layers. That's all they do. Okay. So let's just add into here just some little dots this time of the stickles. There we are. So we'll just add another layer and another texture. I saw the other day that you had fallen, Sarah, and that you were worried about your ankle. If you haven't already had it done, I would be talking to your GP or your orthopaedic consultant about the fact that you've now had 2 fractures following not serious trauma, and that you're worried about your bone density, and could you please have a DEXA scan because you had a fairly early menopause. And that's important because for ladies, before anyone who doesn't know says why are you suggesting medical things, my normal watchers know that I am a qualified doctor, and so I have just a little bit of knowledge. Although I spent many years as a children's surgeon, I do know the basics of what is required to keep everyone safe. So I would never offer treatment advice, but I can definitely suggest directions of travel for people to if they're struggling, because if there's something that's simple that can be done to minimise the risks. So Sarah, you need to ask if it hasn't been done recently for a thing called a DEXA scan. They're not painful to have done, okay, but they can check the density of your bones, and that's really important for ladies of an age. I'm just adding this wood grain stamp to have done, okay. If they've had fractures, and particularly if they've had multiple fractures. Let me just pop that wood grain stamp safely out of the way. It actually comes with another script stamp. probably one of my, yeah, again, one of my favourites. So we're going to keep this way. And because there are now things that can be done to reduce, you know, to improve bone density, because unfortunately ladies are more at risk of getting fractures than anyone else. So I took one of my journaling cards and I've just literally ripped off a corner. So I'm creating a paper background. You can see it was a journaling card. I've used this sort of imagery already in the book, so I didn't want to use that again. And I wanted a base of paper, but not this time a straight piece to cover the base, just an anchor point to pop my embellishment onto. And why haven't I inked the edges of that? There we are. Let's just, whilst that's sitting in place, let's just go around here and add some ink onto the rest of this piece. And we'll add this in. So we now have a nice mix of things added in. And then we've done the same. This journal card actually had this piece at the top. Enjoy the moment. Something we all need to learn to do, isn't it? Enjoy the moment. So all I've done is chopped it out from the paper, from that journal card. And it's just a way, if you don't, you know, if you look at the journal cards and think, well, I don't want to use them to tuck into a pocket, or my pockets aren't big enough to do that, then actually this is just a way of giving you more focal embellishments. Doesn't have to be all together. And I really don't like losing stuff, so why? So there we are. I can't remember where I put that. I think I might have put that over there. Do I like it over there? I'm not sure I do like it over there. So we'll just have a little play. Or did I want it to go underneath? I actually quite like it, almost hidden underneath there. There we are. Yeah, we'll have a little play with the placement of that. We might need a little flower. We might have to go and pick up the flower out of the packet that's by my feet, and that's fine. So we'll just pop that down there, onto there. So we've got that torn edge showing, because torn edge is visual texture. There we are. And I'm not putting masses and masses of glue on these pieces. Remember, glue spreads out. This isn't going to be lifted and messed around, so it won't matter. So let's just pop that piece up there. Yeah. And I am just going to grab my little packet of chopped up flowers, which is on the floor. There we are. Little packet of chopped up flowers that's on the floor. We're getting through these pieces in this collection. There's some of those up. That little one might be small enough. Do we need one that's something that's going to be small enough, or let's just throw the rest of those out? So there we are. That might work. I don't necessarily want a big piece, but I'm thinking I might just put a single flower, might just work nicely onto there. Yeah, so we're just linking it all through. So there we are. This is one of the reasons why I tend, when I'm, you know, I don't tend to art journal per se. I tend to make little artworks, but because each element really doesn't take me very long to do, you can understand why I tend to make bigger projects, because none of these take me very long. I'm conscious I've got some areas that maybe lack a bit of interest, so I'm just going to add a little bit more interest into these pieces. There we are. I quite like that now. So you can make, for me, just adding these little pieces makes a big difference. I'm going to have to go hunt the missing stamps fairly soon, because there's all sorts. They'll be on the floor where there's a lot of been sitting in a pile, but I don't really want to lose them long term, so we will be a good go and hunt the stamps at some point. There we are. So where's that pen gone? So we'll put that, because things like these art journal pages, in the way that I enjoy creating, don't take me very long to make. It's why I tend not to do art journals, because they just, I would just rack through page after page. But they're great if you don't have a lot of time and you just need something to break the day up, to give your mind a little bit of space to zone out and do something that's a little bit different. So all I've done there is put a line and then two little obliques into there. Okay. And I'm just going to outline that word, just to emphasize that we need to enjoy the moments. It's easy for life to pass us through without necessarily. I've got a little butterfly here, little butterfly that's just perfectly going to go there. So let's just pop that little butterfly into place. So you can see very simply using your papers, stamps, stencils, mixing across your ranges. Yeah, I'll put that there. You can create pages that will work to coordinate together. Yes, Christine, we definitely all need a floor for crafting on. So there we are. I'm just going to pop a blob in the middle and then a little circle around those. There we are. I have been sent some boards. Now those boards would be over 1 metre by 80, but in fact much longer than 1 metre. They're humongous. They're at least 1 metre tall and probably 75 to 80 centimetres wide. I haven't got, with a request to use them. That might just be a challenge, because I haven't got a space that I can put a board that size on to work in. We'll do our best, she says, because, and the floor might be the only place that I can physically use, or I might just have to get the decorating table out from the garage and use that, which would be really wonderful. Not, but there we are. So, quick mates tonight, 4 different processes, very similar techniques, just building and layering, collaging all my imagery, keeping the techniques relatively simple so that anyone can do them, using the background papers as the piece that sparked the whole series of these, and layering with focal imagery. So I haven't relied very heavily on fussy cut images that were designed to be as fussy cut images. I've taken elements out of the big paper pack, cut them out and use them as images to build my pieces together. So I can pop that white safely out of the way. And then let's put these 4 down. So that's the one I've just done. We've kept all the elements the same, so I now have 2 more brown based images, because I chose brown for this because there's lots of brown in the background and it makes that blue as the focal pops. Here the brown in the background works in the background because I've got the orange for the flowers and they pop forward, and tonally the brown works better with that orange than the blue would. And then we have this size. Let's see if we can do this and have room. Let's pop that up there. Maybe not. We have a blue. Let's just pop that over there for the moment. A blue one with our brown topper element, so it pops against the background with our stamping in the background, and again some steckles. And the same logic here. We've got the brown topper acting as a complete contrast to my blue stamped and stenciled background. And they do have a beautiful iridescent shimmer when I move them. So I'm sorry, I can't get all 4 of them across here, I don't think. Let's see. I think you might lose some of it regardless of where I go. Let me just shuffle that up there and see if we can get all 4 of them in the page. We might not be able to. Ooh, there we are. I will, as ever, photograph those and post them on my social media pages. And then the plan, which might be subject to change, is that I will do a live on my page on Sunday. Now, it is my husband's birthday on the 8th of February. It was mine on the 22nd of December and my son's on the 13th of January. So after Christmas, around Chinese New Year, because I have a Chinese sister-in-law, we tend to go for a Chinese meal at lunchtime on fairly close to Chinese New Year, which was celebrated on the 28th. So that is my plan for the weekend, which would mean that I might not go live at all. My plan currently would be to go live at 5 on Sunday on my page, but I might, because my son is really not very well at the moment, choose to go live around about I might go live at my normal time. So just watch my social media pages to see what is actually happening, and that way I can, I'll post information there Sunday morning as to what time I think I'm going to go live. And I have a spring-based project, I think, which will be much more of the mixed media style. So please remember to look after each other. Sarah, I hope that your visit to the orthopaedic fracture clinic next week goes uneventfully, and that you're not in too much pain. In the meantime, ladies, just try to be safe with whatever you're up to and whatever you're doing, and be kind to everyone, because we never know what's going on in their backgrounds. So that's all I think I want to say tonight. I will catch up with the comments at some stage. Thank you all very much for choosing to spend part of your Friday evening with me, and I look forward to seeing you online soon. Bye.